Good afternoon, everyone. It is 1:30, and I'm Daniel Sayan, the Chief Administrative Officer for the Alberni-Clayoquot Regional District, and I will call this meeting to order. So welcome to the Board of Directors meeting for Wednesday, November 8th, 2023. I want to start by recognizing and with gratitude that we are conducting our meeting today on the territories of the Huipetchisitt and Shot Nations. Recognize also that some of us are Zooming and coming in from other areas across the region, and just want to ask that you take a moment to acknowledge and be grateful for that. I want to give notice to everyone who's participating and watching that these meetings are being recorded, live streamed to the Regional District website via YouTube. I'm opening this meeting because today is the inaugural meeting of having an election for our chair and vice chair positions. And so until that is established, I will chair the meeting. We're going to start with introductions around the table here in the Alberni-Clayoquot offices, boardroom, and then we'll go to who's online. I introduce myself. I will go to my right.
Hi, everyone. I'm Heather Zenner, Manager of Administrative Services.
Good afternoon. Kalama Penny-Cote, the Regional Director for Sprout Lake.
Hi, my name is Sharon Price. I'm the Alternate Director for Cherry Creek.
Hello, I'm Marilyn McEwen, Mayor of Ucluelet.
Hello, I'm John Jack, Director for Goya First Nations. Thanks.
Thank you. We're also supported by two other staff.
Terry Fong, Chief Financial Officer.
Good afternoon. Wendy Thompson, General Manager, Administrative Services.
And if I can go to our Zoom participants, Bob, can I start with you?
Absolutely. Good afternoon, everybody. Bob Beckett, Area A, beautiful sunny Banfield.
Thank you. And Tom?
Yes, good afternoon. Tom Steer, Councillor and Appointed Director from the District of Tofino.
Thank you, Tom. Debbie?
Debbie Haggard, appointed City Councillor and appointed representative from the City of Port Alberni.
Thank you. Susan?
Hi, it's Susan Roth, representative for or director for Beaver Creek.
Thank you. And Fred? Oh, sorry, maybe the volume didn't go through. Fred, can you introduce yourself?
Thank you, Daniel. Fred Boyko, Electoral Area Director for Wilford. Thanks.
Thank you. Veda, could you introduce yourself?
Veda Siga, Director for Long Beach Area C, coming from the territory of the Kwakwaka'wakw Ucluelet First Nations.
Thank you. Kirsten, you're next.
Good afternoon. Kirsten Johnson from the Tokwak Nation.
Thank you. Wilfred, now that we're online, awesome. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Wilfred Coots from the Ho-Chuksa Tribe Government, coming to you from our homelands of Eath-Lettice. True.
Thank you. And Lavana.
Good afternoon. My name is Lavana Mastrangelo, Director for Ucluelet First Nation.
Thank you. I'll just make note that the other names on there are support staff. And so now I'll turn it over to the General Manager of Administrative Services and the Manager of Administrative Services to conduct the elections for Chair and Vice Chair of the Board.
Good afternoon. Thank you. I'm Wendy Thompson, General Manager of Administrative Services. So I'm going to provide an overview of the election process and then hand it over to Heather Zenner, and she will conduct the nomination process. So every year, annually, in November at our first board meeting, it's our inaugural meeting, and we conduct election of chair and vice chair. Our elections are conducted in accordance with our procedure bylaw. The elected chair of the regional district board automatically becomes the vice chair of the regional hospital district board, and the elected vice chair of the board will be the chair of the regional hospital district board. As our board meetings are now held hybrid, we have to conduct the vote a little differently. Those in the room will be provided a ballot, and then we'll collect those. Those of you on Zoom, we ask that you confidentially email Heather Zenner at hzenner@acrd.bc.ca with your vote, and that will be kept all confidential. If there is an election, nominees will be given 3 minutes to speak as to why they should be chosen for the chair or vice chair position. Following the speeches, we'll hand out the ballots, and those online can email in their votes. In the event there are more than 2 candidates and there's no clear majority of votes for one nominee, what we do as per our procedures bylaw is the one with the least amount of votes will be taken off the ballot and then a new ballot cast. In the event there are 2 tie votes, a draw by law is conducted. I'm now going to turn over the meeting to Heather Zenner. She's going to conduct the call for nominations.
Wendy? Okay, so we're going to conduct the election for the chair of the regional board. I'm going to call for nominations of the chairperson of the ACRD Board of Directors for 2023-2024 for a first time. Go ahead, Penny.
I nominate John Jack for chair.
Director Jack, do you accept the nomination?
There we go. I do, yes.
Thank you. I call for nominations for the chairperson of the ACRD Board of Directors for 2023-2024 for a second time. And finally, I call for nominations for chairperson of the ACRD Board of Directors a third time. There being no further nominations, I declare Director Jack the chairperson of the ACRD and vice chairperson of the Alberni-Clayoquot Regional Hospital District for 2023-2024. Congratulations. Okay, we will now conduct the election of the vice chairperson. So I call for nominations of vice chairperson of the ACRD Board of Directors for 2023-2024 for a first time. Director Cote?
I'd like to nominate Deb Haggard, vice chair.
Director Haggard, do you accept the nomination?
Yes, I do. Thank you.
Great, thank you. So I call for nominations for vice chairperson of the ACRD Board of Directors for 2023-2024 a second time. And finally, I call for nominations for vice chairperson of the ACRD Board of Directors a third time. There being no further nominations, I declare Director Haggard the vice chairperson of the ACRD and chairperson of the Alberni-Clayoquot Regional Hospital District for 2023-2024. Congratulations.
We can, if you focus on Debbie on the screen, I can stand next to the screen. Okay.
We'll just get it done.
Oh yeah, I think that makes sense. Yeah. Well, and how about you email us and tell us when to show up, Heather? Okay, yeah, okay. Yeah, thanks. All right, one moment, I gotta move. Just a second.
Mr. Sion, acting chair at the moment, if I may.
Please go ahead, Wilfred.
Thank you. Before the chair passes over, I would like to take the opportunity to congratulate our chairperson and vice chairperson, and I think it speaks to your ability to conduct yourself in a manner of collegiality and holding our board to a high standard, and the capability of your skills to be able to bring our issues to the forefront of mind with other layers of government and other intergovernmental agencies that we deal with. So I just wanted to congratulate you and the board's unanimous support of you in those roles.
Well, thank you, Wilfred. That was very touching. I don't really know what to say other than I'm glad to see that the board has elected to continue on. This has been a place of sunshine and learning for me, and I just want to be able to give back to the good governance of Regional District for everything that I've learned. I'll keep it short at that, but thank you very much. Deb, is there anything you wanted to say?
Yes, I just want to thank everyone for having the confidence in me to go for another year as vice chair. It's been a pretty challenging year and a big learning curve. And I'm very grateful to John and Daniel, both of you, for being mentors for me for the past year and also becoming good friends. And thank the board. You've been just great to work with. We've had some challenges, but I'm happy to be moving forward. Thank you so much.
Okay. And with that, then, that brings us to the agenda. So we've moved through item 1 and 2 on the agenda. Next up is the approval of the agenda. If everybody takes a look, we have a reasonably robust agenda. If there's anything to add or modify on the agenda, please let me know. If not, we can have a motion to adopt the agenda as presented. Thank you, Director Cote, for moving. Do we have a seconder? Thank you, Director McEwen. Any further comments? Okay, seeing none. All those in favor? All opposed? The motion carried. Okay. That brings us into declarations. Does anyone have any declarations of conflict of interest, perceived conflict of interest, or gifts exceeding $250 value? Seeing none, we'll move on to the next item, the adoption of minutes, which are, there's 3 of them. Yep, there's 3 of them. First of which is the Agricultural Development Committee meeting dated October 24th, 2023. Would anyone like to move adoption of minutes? Thank you, Director Cote, seconded by Director McEwen. Any further comments? Errors, omissions? If you notice anything, we can always do it at another date as well. Okay, all those in favor? All opposed? The motion carried. Thank you. That brings us to the next item, which is the Board of Directors meeting for October 25th, 2023. Director Cote moves adoption, second by Director McEwen. Any further comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Motion carried. Thank you. And lastly, we have the Transportation Advisory Committee meeting dated October 31st, 2023. I sure hope somebody wore a costume. No. Director Cote moves to adopt, seconded by Director McEwen. Any further comments? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor? Motion carried. Thank you. All right, we don't have any petitions or delegations. Normally they would be here on item 6, might be a 10-minute maximum. But because we don't have any, we go straight to item 7, which is correspondence for action. So the first one here is the request for appointment to the Municipal Finance Authority. Looks like they're looking for an appointee and an alternate. Daniel, you had a comment?
Yes, I know that Director Sparrow had reached out just to indicate that he was interested. I know his alternate is here this afternoon, but I just wanted to make sure that I shared that with the board, that he was interested in continuing on with the MFA.
Do we have any interest for alternate? Going once, going twice. Director Steer? Oh, no, you made a mistake, Director Steer.
No. I was just going to ask who was the alternate last time?
It's me. Yeah. That's what I was going to do. I was just going to say, yeah, you can make me the alternate. if we can have a motion to appoint Director Sparrow and myself as the alternate, I'm wondering if Director Price wants to move the motion, since you're here. Yeah? Okay, so Director Price moves the motion. Do we have a seconder? Thank you, Director Roth. Seeing no comments. Okay, all those in favor? All opposed? The motion carried. Thank you very much. Okay, the next item for correspondence for action is a letter from, oh, it's HFN Hospitality Corporation. Looks like, oh, that was me. Yeah, so it's all one motion? Yeah. Yeah. Sorry, I completely skipped out on this one. I'm wondering if Director Haggard wants to take this, just so that there's no perception of conflict. Okay, I'll get out of here. One moment.
Okay, so we've had a request for support from the HFN Hospitality Corporation dated November 2nd, 2023 for a letter of support for application to the Regional Economic Diversification and Infrastructure Program for funding to assist in developing a micro hotel. The staff know any more details, or can we just go right to the motion?
We have very limited information. We do know that this has been work that's been ongoing with the Shot Nation, so it is a partnership. But we haven't received any formal information beyond that amount.
Okay, would anyone like to make the motion? Director Cote?
I'll make the motion. Do you want it read out?
Yes, please. Thank you.
Motion that the Alberni Clayoquot Regional District Board of Directors provide a letter of support to the HFN Hospitality Corporation supporting the application from the Hawaiian Group of Businesses, Tishat First Nation, and Master Built Hotels Limited to the Regional Economic Diversification and Infrastructure Program for funding to assist in developing a microtel inn and suites by Wyndham in Port Alberni.
And I'll second that motion. Is there any comments or questions? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carried. Could someone please get Chair Jack back in the room? Thank you.
We will. We'll do that. It'll just be a minute.
Apologies for the brain fart. Okay, so that brings us into correspondence for information. Would anyone like to pull anything up for correspondence of information? Director Cote, please go ahead.
Thank you. So A on page 35 to 43. So it's a call for nominations for the Association of Vancouver Island and Coastal Communities, and I would love to see someone from our area step up. Also, there's student participation program. So if anybody has suggested of a student that would be interested, and I guess we would bring it to the board before we make any motions as far as support for this. The funding for approval, student would have to make an application. The community from which the student is coming from would have to be an active participant and actually be kind of responsible for that student to attend. The AVICC will waive any fees to attend the conference for the business portion, and also the opening reception, but there's no coverage for the banquet or anything like that. And also we'll pay up to $1,000 of the transportation and accommodations for that student to attend. That's it. Thank you.
Just on that, thank you for that. So the First Nations equivalent of UBCM is called the First Nations Leadership Gathering, and it just happened like a week ago. And they have a similar program where each nation can bring a youth member. And we actually did that this year and it went really well. So it is very much worthwhile. And it's one of those things where directors, especially electoral area directors, I think that's probably where the representative should come from, because succession planning for electoral areas can often be difficult, especially since regional districts aren't the most popular things in the world. But there's often quite an important intersection between real people's lives and what affects them. It mostly happens at the local level. So it would be good to see some folks who might be interested. Yeah, I'll just leave it at that. Thank you. Are there any other items that folks would like to pull out or comment on? All right, seeing none, could we have a motion to receive the correspondence for information? Director Cote, thank you, and Director McEwen, seconded. Okay, any further comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? All opposed? The motion carried. Thank you very much. Okay, that brings us to item 9A, which is request for decisions regarding signing authorities for banking purposes. Carrie, did you want to take this? Please go ahead.
Sure, thank you. So this is just some housekeeping following the election of chair and vice chair each year. So we do request a third director signer. That has been Director Cote for this past year. Director Sparrow has also stated that he would be willing to be that third signer if we like. Also note that we have added the manager of financial services as the third signer from the staff side of things due to the upcoming retirement of our general manager of administrative services. So looking for that third name and then a motion for banking purposes, please.
Thank you. Director Haggard, please go ahead.
Is Director Cote willing to stay on for another year as a signer?
I could.
It's very neutral. Thank you, Dr. Cote. With that neutrality, I think it just comes down to what anyone would move forward with. I think it's okay to appoint Director Sparrow. It's one of those things where I think we're going to do that to him because he's not here. Would anyone like to entertain a motion that will give the chairperson, the vice chair, and Director Sparrow signing authority for checks and that sort of thing? Thank you, Director Boyko.
Make that motion. Oh, sorry.
Seconded by Director Cote. Any further comments? Okay. All those in favor? All opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Okay, that brings us to item B, which is a request for decisions regarding ABICC resolutions notice and request for submissions. Wendy, please go ahead.
Thank you. We've received the annual call out for resolutions for consideration at the 2024 convention for the ABICC, Association of Vancouver Island and Coastal Communities. It's being held April 12th to 14th in Victoria next year. ABICC member local governments are invited to submit board endorsed resolutions no later than February 7th, 24. Resolutions must be relevant to other member local governments within ABICC, not a specific issue just to one member government. Regional district staff are requesting directors to submit desired resolution topics to staff on or before January 12th. That will give staff enough time to develop the resolution and required background information to then present to the board of directors and to meet the February 7th deadline. So if there's any questions, I'd be pleased to answer them. Thank you.
Thank you. Any comments or questions? Or areas for initial investigation? I had one, but I feel like I'm kind of stealing it from Directors Cote and Roth, having to do with both flood mapping and water and drought mapping, if that's even possible. I don't know what the appropriate term would be for that, but it seems like they're all kind of connected. I know that there has been a furtive effort on flood mapping throughout the island, and I just know that it's not fully developed yet. So wouldn't mind all three of those things being put forward. And I don't think we need a resolution to that effect. I think it's just something we make note of.
No, not at this point. No, we're just asking, just to go forward with the resolution to submit to staff before the deadline of January 12th. Thank you.
Okay. So there will be future instances. Dr. Cote, please go ahead.
Thank you. So 2023, we started a new process. So some of the resolutions that came forward were regional in their distribution, I guess, what they were concerned about, rather than fully provincial. So there is that section now that is regional, where AVICC deals with resolutions that come forward specifically for regional issues. So it's a bit of a change. Just wanted to recognize that.
Okay, thank you for that. Are there any further comments or questions? Okay, if not, if we could have the motion as presented, I'll read it out for everyone's benefit, that the Alberni Clyde-Court Regional District Board of Directors submit possible resolutions for consideration at the 2024 Association of Vancouver Island and Coastal Communities Convention to the General Manager of Administrative Services on or before January 12, 2024. And based on submissions received, regional district staff will be instructed to bring back drafted resolutions and background material for consideration of endorsement by the Board of Directors prior to the submission deadline of February 7th, 2024. Do we have a mover for that? Thank you, Dr. Cote, seconded by Dr. McEwen. Any further comments, Dr. Cote?
Thank you. So I do have a resolution that I'd like to bring forward. It's not put together yet, but regarding emergency planning and the disposal of the province of acquisitions that are pertinent to escape routes like the Kurtz Creek. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Any further ideas? Okay, seeing none for now, I'll ask for all in favor. All opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. We do have time for more resolutions. This just sets the deadline. Okay, next up is item C, Electoral Area Directors Forum and Local Government Leadership Academy Forum. Heather Zenner, please go ahead.
Thank you. So the report in front of you is to consider authorizing electoral area directors to attend the Electoral Area Directors Forum and to authorize directors to attend the Local Government Leadership Academy Forum. Both of these forums take place at the end of January and the beginning of February in Richmond. The cost to attend each forum is approximately $1,400, including registration and travel expenses. The Electoral Area Directors Forum is funded through the Electoral Area's administration budget, and the Local Government Leadership Academy is funded through General Government Service budget and is available to electoral area directors as well as First Nation directors. If there's any of the municipal directors on the board that are interested in attending, they would attend directly through their municipality. So if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. Thank you.
Daniel, go ahead.
I know that we received an email and Director Sparrow couldn't be here, but Director Sparrow would like to attend.
That's great. Okay. So are these motions separate or can they be all taken as one?
These would be better to be separate, yes.
All right, so would anyone like to move the first motion that states that the Alberni Clyde-Court Regional District Board of Directors authorize electoral area directors to attend the 2024 Electoral Area Directors Forum, January 30th and 31st in Richmond, BC? Thank you, Dr. Cote. Seconded by Director McEwen. Any further comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? The motion carried. Thank you. And then the next motion is that the Electoral Area Regional District Board of Directors authorize the following directors to attend the Local Government Leadership Academy Forum, January 31st through February 2nd in Richmond, BC. So Dr. Sparrow is added to that list. Would anyone else like to attend? EA Director or First Nations Director? Dr. Cote, would you like to attend? All right, thank you. Director Coots, you as well?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. is holding an election, so
Oh, yeah.
I'm looking at having some new legislative members attend. So I just don't know if they need to be from this board or if it's open for my government to send someone as well. We can take that offline, or I can put forward an empty space now if it's appropriate.
Yeah. Director Coots, I think we can just add them to our list as well. I think that makes sense. At least the one who may be. So what we may want to write down is just Coachella Tribe representative or something like that. And then that
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, because I will only have one new legislative member. The rest have sat before, but I would like to try to keep it open in case. Thank you.
Thank you. Lavana, would you like to attend as well?
Yes.
All right, thank you. Are there any other folks who'd like to be added to the list? It's easy to get to. It's right on the SkyTrain. Okay, seeing none. Do we have a motion to that effect? Thank you, Director McEwen, seconded by Director Cote. Thank you, Director Cote. Any further comments? Okay, all those in favor? All opposed? Okay, motion carried. Thank you. All right, that brings us to item D, request for decision regarding a Rogers cell phone tower in Debeau Road. Debeau? Okay, please go ahead, Mike.
Thank you. So this is an application to place a cell tower on a property on DeBow Road. This is within Beaver Creek electoral area. This is part of the required approval process before the cell tower can be constructed. The local government has to confirm support, and then it concurs with the zoning. So this does conform with the current zoning, and staff recommend that the board pass the motion, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Director Roth, please go ahead.
Yeah, I live in the immediate area. In fact, right below where the cell phone tower would be located. I think there was a lack of public consultation. I didn't know about this proposal until I read it in my meeting package. It's potentially controversial. So I'd like to make the following motion that the Board of Directors consider issuing a letter of land use concurrence for the cell tower following review by the Beaver Creek Advisory Planning Commission, and if passed, at a public hearing.
Can I ask for clarification on that? If passed at a public hearing, like it would be put to a vote at a public hearing, or like mentioned at a public hearing?
Talked about and discussed so that the public are totally aware, and then we can make a decision after that.
Okay, so it'd be like a pending decision sort of thing?
Yeah.
Okay. I have Directors Boyko and then Price. So Director Boyko, go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. I share the opinions of Director Roth there. This is not in Beaufort, but it is, when you look at the potential siting, it's as close to Beaufort as you can be, like 5 feet away. But like Director Roth said, unless you're in the paper diligently all the time, which not a lot of people do, most people didn't even know this was in there until they read the package here. And with things like 5G and a 120-foot tower on a hill, that's going to be very visible to everyone in potential backyards, plus the whole 21-acre subdivisions. There's some controversial stuff that I've heard in the past week from concerned citizens and other people that we should talk to the Advisory Planning Committee about this. And if they support it, then go to a public hearing just to make sure everyone's involved, because having it show up and be very visible to everyone in the whole Alberni Valley is going to raise a lot of eyebrows. And even though it's not required in the federal government requirements, I think it would be a good thing for everyone to do to increase the notice to the public. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Boyko. Next up, we have Directors Price, and then we'll go to Mike.
Yeah, it's the same. Sorry, I didn't know anything about this until I got the paperwork on Monday for me to be at the meeting. I do not read the paper, so I wouldn't have seen the 2 ads that went out. I'm looking here in the background. It says property owners have an active subdivision application proposal for 21 acre plus lots. I'm questioning if this goes through, how that affects that subdivision and where those acres will be, how close they're going to be to the 5G tower. I'm also questioning the consulting by ISED, which I really don't know enough about. But it states here that's required direct notification to neighbors within 3 times the proposed tower height. So 114 meters, I believe 374 feet equals 1,122 feet. So I have a question as to if anybody in the public who lives in that surrounding area lives within that parameter, and how many people in the public were notified about that. That's the second question. Any other kind of social media or any other advertising to let people know that this is a proposal. I see they're attached 2 letters, which to me equals close to 0 public engagement. So that's my opinion on that. Thank you.
Thank you. Mike Kirk, please go ahead.
Yes, so certainly one of the options is to refer it back to the Advisory Planning Commission for input. With respect to a public hearings have very specific meetings in local government, and this application doesn't fall within the regional district's public hearing, requirements or legislation. There certainly could ask Rogers about holding a public information meeting, or if the board wishes to do something on their own, it would be a public information meeting. But it wouldn't be a public hearing. So I just wanted to clarify. I think that's sort of the information I have for now. And again, we can happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. I have Director Cote, Director Boyko, then Director Roth.
Thank you. Sprout Lake went through this process in the past. We had Rogers come in and talk to the community, which I'm sure that they would absolutely do. They like to have community consultation as per the direction that was given in Sprout Lake. We did have one, the TELUS Tower was looking at location right at the Sprout Lake Landing property. There was a big outcry that people did not want it in that location. It was serving an area that was already covered mostly. Rogers came back with a different location along Faber Road. There's very specific areas that these towers can go in because they need power and certain criteria that they need. The tower that went in on Faber Road was a process. It was a public process. The public was well aware of that. It was going in there. There was concerns from a few people about the vibration or whatever it is from the tower. They were all answered, and one of the issues that we did have with the tower in the location it is that there was no light on the top of it to begin with, and its location near the airport. So there was that issue that we dealt with. There's lights on it. You can see that tower from along a lot of areas at Sprout Lake, and people are accepting that. We need connectivity with the cell coverage. Hoping that the residents of Beaver Creek or surrounding areas can actually work with Rogers to create this accessibility to cell coverage. Thank you. I would really like to see a map. Rogers and TELUS both provided mapping of where that cell coverage would be able to be used, because it's very specific as to range. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Cote. Directors Boyko and then Roth.
Thank you, Director Cote. I think an information session, whatever wording you want to call it, not necessarily a public hearing, would be an awesome idea. And we should push towards that happening, as well as having maps of the coverage. That would also be great. Thank you.
Yeah, the coverage is going to be key because it'll show why we need to talk to BC government about like Tofino Highway and that sort of thing. Director Roth, please go ahead.
Yeah, I'd be more than happy to amend my motion to say a public information meeting. But I also want to note that there are other locations close by that are even higher up and less inhabited. So, you know, McLean Mills really close by. There's going up a little bit further, then go with even less people. So I think that there is alternatives.
Yeah, it seems like there might be. I think having a conversation with Rogers would be a good way to seek that clarity, especially if there's proper topographical mapping, as Dr. Boyko had already asked for. Dr. Price, please go ahead.
Conversation with Rogers would be great, but it would be nice to have some independent studies as well on the effects of the 5G. If you look at the radius of the surrounding the proposed 5G tower and who was not contacted, if I was a neighbor in that area, I would probably want to know that. And if I had farmland or even more structures that you're going to put on your property, I definitely think, like, I don't know if anybody here knows how many people were contacted regarding this, or if they all lived outside of the range that these people that did the study. So it's a question I have: how many people were contacted? Thank you.
Daniel, go ahead.
So in terms of the outreach requirements, so the outreach requirements for a tower is something that falls outside of what we directly control. So SitePath Consulting in this case has to do the outreach, and Rogers would be the proponent. I think what we can do is we can ask them to have the public meeting, provide specific information. If there are concerns regarding frequencies, 5G frequencies and whatnot, the World Health Organization has a lot of information on that. It talks about the impacts. Health Canada has them as well. And what we can do is create those links for the public to find them so that they can be informed. It's an important detail. And I think what we can do is just ensure that the public has easy access to where to find information on the impacts of frequencies in that way.
Okay, so with that, if I heard correctly, the original motion included some, not necessarily a public hearing, but a public meeting or some sort of like community engagement kind of process. Is that the intention, Dr. Roth? Just to reiterate?
Yeah, a public information meeting.
Yeah.
For Beaver Creek and Beaufort.
Okay. All right, and if that makes sense for everyone, then we can.
Point of order, Chair Jack. Can I just read what I have, just to make sure that what I have is the understanding and direction of the board? That the Board of Directors directs staff to issue a letter of land use concurrence for Rogers Communications file W3579, noting that the ACRD supports the cell tower location following review and support by the Beaver Creek Advisory Planning Commission, and request Rogers host a public information meeting.
I think that works well. Dr. Roth?
Just 1 second here. It kind of didn't make sense to me.
Read it again.
Oh, just letter of concurrence following review and support by the Beaver Creek Advisory Planning Commission, and request Rogers host a public information meeting.
Well, what I had was that the Board of Directors consider issuing a letter of land use concurrence for the cell tower following review by the Beaver Creek Advisory Planning Commission, and if passed, at a public hearing, but I was going to change it to at a public information meeting. So we'd have to all those reviews, both of those reviews would have to take place. Does that match with what you've got there?
Yeah, I think it does. Yeah, the only thing, yeah. Mike?
If I could just, a suggestion, I think aside from the motion, I think the proper process would be refer to the Advisory Planning Commission with the recommendation from the Advisory Planning Commission coming back to the board, and a public information meeting, and then everything would be brought back to the board for a final decision. If that's the intention, I think the direction should be to refer it to the Beaver Creek Advisory Planning Commission and request Rogers hold a public information session.
Yeah.
All right, thank you. That sounds like the kind of process that happens probably. Okay. Now that we have clarity there, are there any other comments? There was a secondary. I just can't remember who it was. I believe it was Director Boyko. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Any further comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? All opposed? The motion carried. Thank you. Holy moly, we're at item 10 already. Okay, so maybe it wasn't the most robust agenda. Okay, that brings us to 10.1. 10.1A is for electoral area directors only for voting and grouping and that sort of thing. But the rest of you are necessary for quorum, so please don't disappear. Mike, please go ahead.
Yes, thank you. And there was only one planning item on the agenda today. So this is a rezoning application for Bamfield for 390 Bamfield Inlet. So there was on October 25th, the board meeting, the board gave 3 readings to this bylaw, and then there were some conditions to be met, and I would note that all conditions have been met. Also within the report, there was some through the referral agencies, there was some technical agency requirements that need to be addressed at subdivision stage, and staff will certainly include that in the technical report that we brought to the Ministry of Transportation at the subdivision stage. But one of them was from Hawaii First Nations regarding the requirements for an archaeological assessment, and that will be included and required at subdivision stage. Staff recommend that the bylaw be adopted, and I'm happy to answer questions.
Thank you. Director Beckett?
Thank you, Chair. I'm happy with the process to date and would like to make the motion that bylaw P1485, Regional District of Alberni-Clayoquot Zoning Atlas Amendment Bylaw be adopted.
Thank you. Do we have a seconder? Thank you, Director Cote. Any further comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? All opposed? The motion carried. You almost voted, Deb. I saw that. Next up is reports, committee reports, in which there are none. Area reports. That brings us to electoral area A, Bamfield. Director Beckett, any reports?
Yes, sir. Just wanted to say, with respect to the chip sealing of the Bamfield Road, I'm getting nothing but positive comments back. Yes, there are some concerns about the speed on the road, but nothing but glowing reports on how pleasant a drive it is. So congratulations again to the Hawaiian Nation and the province for doing that. And lastly, I'd like to identify that we have in Bamfield tomorrow from 4 p.m. till 7 p.m. the OCP open house tomorrow night at the Bamfield Community School. There's a number of staff that are coming down. I'm so grateful for them coming down in person, and I am looking forward to getting the community's input and having the discussions that will help us move forward in making changes and preparing for the future of our 2 communities. So that's my report, and I thank you very much.
Thank you for that. Next up is electoral area B, Beaufort. Director Boyko?
Thank you, Chair. Not a lot going on in Beaufort right now. The harvests are done. Some people are putting their bees to bed, getting ready for winter activities. We did have our OCP planning about 2-3 weeks ago. We had a whopping 5 people show up for it. And most people are enjoying the town hall format rather than the cafe style, but it is different for each area, which kind of indicates that we should be looking at different bylaws for each area. That's all I have. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Director Boyko. Next up is area C, Long Beach. Director Siga.
Thank you. We had our OCP meeting on Monday, and I would just like to give kudos to the staff for the wonderful job of making people feel welcome and included and heard. And I think it goes a long way towards promoting more participation. They did a great job, and it was good to see them out in our area.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Electoral Area D, Director Cote.
Thank you. Recently, as a volunteer with the Community Association, I did another water test. There was 24 tests that were brought in. These are personal tests. And I also test the spring that is very well used at the end of Taylor Arm. Many people on the West Coast use that water. And it strictly is just a pipe that comes out of the side of the hill to the ditch where many people get the water. Quite concerned. This is the first time I've had a result. There was 170 total coliforms in this sample. So just want to make people aware that this is a raw water source and that they need to take measures to make sure that they're protecting themselves from drinking water that shouldn't be consumed at this point. Also, the Community Association had their executive meeting on Monday, and I offered to chair a open house or town hall or general meeting, whatever you'd like to call it. And they said that no, thank you, that they were very satisfied with the open house that the regional district had provided for the community. So at this time, they turned me down. Thank you. And thank you to the staff. Well, very well done.
Thank you, Director Cote. I had a question. When you said the West Coast, do you mean like the west side of the lake, or do you mean like the whole West Coast?
The whole West Coast. I used to get my water there years ago before I put in a filtration system, and there was literally a lineup of people waiting to get at that hose to get the water. I've tested it for probably 15 years, and this is the worst that it's ever come out. But that is a snapshot right now, what's coming out of that pipe right at that moment. 5 minutes later, it could have been clean, but I'm not sure. But I just would like people to be aware that it is a raw water source and that there is potential for contamination there going forward. And there is many First Nations. I've been in lineups, and people that literally fill up the back of their vehicles with the big water bottles. People from Port Alberni come out and get water to make wine, beer, coffee, I heard. So it's not chlorinated. Thank you.
Thank you for that. That's a good communication. We might actually want to do something about it, like an actual communication with there, but that's great. Next up is Electoral Area E, Dr. Roth. Oh, sorry. Did someone have a comment? Go ahead.
Just along those lines, Director Cote shared that information with us, and we are looking to see if we can at least put up a sign. It doesn't fall in any one of our services, but it is just to at least notify people that user beware, this is what the condition is. And something like this could be caused by a number of different things, right? We don't know where the pipe actually leads to, I don't think, or comes from. And so there could be a dead animal or anything that's just along the water source, which would cause that. So like what was said, it's not that it's a permanent contamination, could be a flash in the pan, but we should at least look at putting up a sign so people are aware that there are risks to taking untreated water from the side of the road.
All right, thank you. Next up is Electoral Area E, Dr. Roth.
Hi. A number of people in Beaver Creek have expressed concern about the decision-making process that will be used regarding the new aquatic center. The people of Beaver Creek want a proper referendum ballot, the same kind of referendum that's used to elect regional directors or city council members. Last month, Campbell River used the alternate approval process rather than an assent vote referendum to obtain approval from electors to borrow $64.6 million for the redevelopment of their recreation center. An alternate approval process is a form of approval that allows electors to indicate whether they're against a local government proposal. 10% of electors must show they're against the proposal in order for it to be turned down. In Campbell River, only 106 electors, or 0.32%, submitted forms through the alternate approval process to oppose the proposal. Since that's less than the 10% of the number of electors in Campbell River, which is about 32,880 people, the electors approved spending $64.6 million to redevelop the recreation center. With only 106 electors out of 32,880 responding, it shows me that most electors were not aware of how the alternate approval process works. Every person that's contacted me this past month about this issue is against using the alternate approval process. I'd like the people of Beaver Creek to know that I'm against participating in a new aquatic center if a proper asset referendum is not utilized in each electoral area to decide whether or not to opt in or out of the project. Thank you.
All right, thank you for that. Next up is electoral area F, Cherry Creek. Dr. Price, is there anything you want to?
Yes, Cherry Creek held its OCP and bylaw town hall meeting on October 12th. We had a whopping 77 community members attend the event, with more contributing electronically. The discussions at the tables would have kept going if allowed, but the hall was only booked for a set time. It's always valuable to get feedback from the community as it sets a direction for the community through the process. As more steps in this process are announced, they will be communicated to the residents of Cherry Creek. Cherry Creek held its annual Halloween event at the Cherry Creek Community Hall. The event brings together the community at the hall to enjoy hot chocolate and hot dogs, allowing the community's parents and children to mingle as they stand around and watch the fireworks. This event has been a time-honored tradition that bonds Cherry Creek residents. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Next up is the City of Port Alberni. Director Minions? Or Director Haggard? Director Minions, please go ahead.
Sorry, I'm here as well, but was just going to pass it to Director Haggard if she has anything specific she'd like to update on.
Thank you, Director Minions. I was just going to let everyone know, if you weren't aware, that the 20 units at the Tiny Home Village on 4th Avenue held their grand opening a couple of weeks ago, and there are now 11 tenants living in these tiny homes. And if you haven't seen them, they're very well constructed, they're beautiful, they're clean, they're airy. They're going to be 24-hour support services on site. So they're doing a gradual entry of people, so they're not overwhelmed all at once with processes and practices. So we're very excited to have this project finally open. And there is room for 10 more units. They're just working to get additional funding. Thank you.
Thank you for that. That brings us to District of Tofino. Director Steer.
Thank you, through the chair. Nothing great. We haven't had a meeting in a while, but some of the major infrastructure projects still ongoing. The wastewater treatment plant, of course, and all the conveyance systems that's going in there, well underway. We did have our strategic planning process. We utilized Mr. Carruthers, similar to, well, the same as ACRD. And that was an excellent strategic planning process. And we're hoping to have the final report here within the next month.
Awesome. Thank you. Next up is District of Euclid. Dr. McEwen.
Thank you. Staff have a number of irons in the fire for grant applications, some for supportive housing, some for affordable housing. And we also had a presentation by the Bolinas Group and Bolinas Housing Society, I believe they're called, formerly the Nanaimo Housing Society. And they are actively looking for locations to partner with municipalities to create affordable housing.
Oh, and that's me next. So I think I'll do three things, although the third one has quite a bit. First of which is just a quick update on the road. I think Director Beckett's already covered off quite a bit of it. There were some closures this week and for next week, I believe, just to fix some ditching. There was some small flooding going on at certain kilometers, I think 50 something for the areas. There is a plan to fix some of the potholes along the bridges, but everything seems to be working out fairly well. We're hoping that we've put aside some resourcing to make sure that we can do the maintenance properly this year, to have a good understanding of what maintenance is going to look like in the future. And we'll continue to work well with our partners in Western Forest Products and Mosaic on the continued maintenance of the project moving forward. We really want this to be a situation where the road is there for safety and reliability, not necessarily for speed. And that's something that we at Huu-ay-aht had a meeting with the RCMP about. And they just kind of said, well, as soon as we get a commanding officer and more staff, then that's what makes sense. And that kind of lit a fire under us to start advocating for more attention for RCMP, which really aligns with what I think the Valley is looking for as well. So that being said, that road item is something that I'll continue to provide update on. We are embarking on a master planning process at the Huu-ay-aht level that will have a direct impact on the ACRD, because we're hoping to use the ACRD's system as well as the land title office and that sort of thing to really conduct our economic development through property development in a way that makes sense for investors. So any activity that we'll be undertaking will likely be Bamfield centered, and therefore I want to make sure that we include the ACRD staff as well as Director Beckett on what's going on from a regulatory and planning side, because we want to do this relationship right and make sure that Bamfield is always included moving forward. That being said, we also have been advocating for resourcing for this increase in conversations, and that moves into my third point, which is I attended the First Nations Leadership Gathering, which is like UBCM for First Nations. And I think I was one of the few First Nations chiefs who met with Minister Kang, the municipal minister. She was really happy to see me. We talked for about 20 minutes, which is about 5 minutes more than usual. And we focused directly on the fact that Huu-ay-aht wants to navigate its relationship with the ACRD, but specifically Bamfield Right. And there we're hoping for a resources for the ACRD, because we know it'll increase the amount of work that's going on, as well as just any programs that might be helpful to ensure that Bob and Bamfield feel included, especially something that would be such a sea change to the community over time. I know that you've already been thinking about this, Bob, but we should make sure that you know that I'm mentioning this too. We also met with Tourism, Arts and Culture alongside CSHOT. You talked about that this morning, but since I removed myself, I won't talk about it very much. Also met with Lisa Bear on internet connectivity. Mostly because our internet in Annapolis should be better than what it is from what their technicians tell us. So they've committed to helping us there. That could have knock-on effects for the rest of the Bamfield. Spoke to Modi, the Minister for Transportation, and he is well aware of all the issues we brought up, because they're the same as the types of things that we talked about here, as well as jobs, economic development, and innovation. We mostly talked about our general plan for economic development in the area and how it's necessary to appropriately resource us in a good planning process. So mostly it's just making sure we at Huu-ay-aht have the appropriate resources and time to plan, but we also want to do it right with Bamfield and ACRD involved. So we'll keep Daniel and Mike informed as well. Anything else that might come up, especially when it comes to solid waste, liquid waste management. That'll be it from my end. That brings us to Toquat. Director Johnson, are you still here?
Yep.
Please go ahead.
Okay. So we recently had our election, so we are concentrating on doing new council orientation. We have 2 days set, tomorrow and Friday. We are starting our review on our strategic plan, so hopefully updating that maybe in the new year. And we're just busy with all our various capital projects. They're humming along, so it's all going well. Thanks.
Thank you, Director Johnson. Next up is Hope Chuckwitz Tribe, but I think Director Kuntz is away. And that brings us to you, Clifford. Levana, Director Mastrangelo.
Afternoon. Nothing to report from Ucluelet First Nation in these last 2 weeks. Thank you.
Thank you for that. And that brings us to a need for a motion to receive the reports. Do you have a motion to do so? Thank you, Director McEwen. Seconded by Director Cote. They're just on the draw right now. All those in favor? All opposed? The motion carried. Thank you. Okay, brings us to item 11.4, other reports. I don't think there are any. No, there aren't any. Item 12, no unfinished business. Item 13, no late business. Item 14, any questions or comments or emails? Heather, are there any responses at acrd.bc.ca?
Thank you. I'm just gonna check. There's no emails. And there's no questions in Zoom.
All right, thank you. If we could have a motion to recess the meeting to go into the Regional Hospital District Board meeting. Thank you, Director Ross, seconded by Director Cote. All those in favor? Motion carried. Deb, I'll let you know if anybody has their hand up here. But
That would be great. Thank you. I appreciate that. So I'd like to call the Hospital District Board of Directors meeting to order. I'd like to recognize we're conducting this meeting on the unceded territories of the Hoopichas and Shuswap First Nations, and we're grateful for that opportunity to do so. And we have directors zooming in from other areas, and we'd like to acknowledge those First Nations areas with our respect and gratitude. So we have an agenda before us. Is any additions from the directors? Seeing none, could I get a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
Just a point of order, Madam Chair, we do have a late item. I sent it out earlier today. We do have an invitation from the West Coast General Hospital. It was just received this morning, and they have invited the board to their grand opening of the emergency department. The event is being held on Friday, November 10th. So I just wanted to mention that.
Thank you so much, Heather. I appreciate that. And John, you'll still be able to attend that celebration?
yeah, it's on the Friday. I should be able to make it. I'm just hosting a breakfast with council that should be done by then, so I can go right to the hospital.
Great, thank you so much. Can I get a motion then to approve the agenda as amended? Moved by Director Steer. Can I get a seconder?
Director Boyko has his hand up.
Oh, I can't see everybody. Second by Director Boyko. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carried. We have the minutes from the Board of Directors meeting dated October the 11th. Any errors or omissions? Seeing none, could I get a motion to adopt the minutes of the Alberta Clayoquot Regional Hospital District Board of Directors held on October 11th, 2023 be adopted? Moved by Director Steer. Is there a seconder?
Second.
All in favor of the motion? Any opposed? Motion carried. And we have no delegations today, and we do have one item for correspondence for action. A request from the Nanaimo Regional Hospital District dated October 31st, 2023, request for support for the NRHD healthcare priority projects. And I was just wondering, does staff has any additional information on this?
No, we do not.
Okay. Is there any comments or questions or concerns? My concern is that if we're supporting this, we're also trying to get a new hospital for Tofino. And when there's only so much money in the coffers, we might get left out. Director Steer?
Yeah, the support for this has already been looked at through the capital projects for our region, and it is an incredibly important project. I do not think it will have any bearing on the project moving forward, potentially moving forward for the Tofino General Hospital. So I am in full support of this with the recognition that we also have priority projects that hopefully are in the queue.
Thank you much, Director Steer. I appreciate that. So you're making the motion to support the letter, the request.
I can make the motion as presented.
Perfect. Get a seconder?
And I'll second that. I'll second that, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. All in favor of the motion?
I have a question.
Deb, we have a couple of comments. We have.
Oh, sorry, Director Cote.
Daniel.
Thank you. I would agree with what Director Steer said about reply. I absolutely support this, but would also like included in that support letter that we see that our priorities are ranked just as high in our area. Thank you.
I think Daniel has a comment and then Director Steer.
Thank you. I think Director Steer answered the question. From our understanding, this does not impact the forward motion on the Tofino General Hospital project.
Any other questions or comments?
Yeah, if I'll just follow up on that in terms of for Director Cote's information. Yeah, in terms of the there will be a motion coming up here in terms of moving forward. And I'm going to be making a request to have Island Health come to inform the board about the process on the West Coast for the Tofino General Hospital potential rebuild on there. So that hopefully, Director Cote, that presentation will answer all of those questions in terms of those concerns.
Thank you, Director Steer. Any final questions or comments? All in favor of the motion? Any opposed? Motion carried. Next is reports, Banfield Health Center, Director Beckett.
No report, Madam Chair.
Alberni Claycott Continuing Care Society, Director Siga.
There have been some changes. The former executive director, Joe McQuaid, has left, and the board is working on getting a new executive director. Thank you.
Thank you. West Coast Native Healthcare Society, Director Cote.
Thank you. We just had our financial review and our year end, and everything is very good shape. Thank you.
Thank you. Tofino General Hospital, Director Steer.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, a few things to bring forward to the board. There's some site work being done right now, just basically tearing down some buildings, some old buildings that were collapsing anyways, and then replacing those with C-cans, and those are particular for storage purposes. Interestingly enough, they're entering into a contract for protective services at the hospital. Interesting that it's been commissionaires before. There will now be protective services staff there 24/7. An interesting addition. There's going to be some quotes for some a redevelopment of one of the rooms that will be for primary or for administrative purposes. The hospital, of course, was extremely busy over the summer with an average of 37 visits per day. And interestingly enough, some of those percentages, not all the folks that we expect from the tourism population, but many of those were people seeking primary care in terms of not being able to get to the clinics in time. So there was an interesting addition to the emergency room staff there. In terms of staffing, our nursing staffing is in very strong position there. But one of the interesting notes from the site director was there are several unfilled positions. And the primary reason for that is that they cannot find accommodations for those staff. To be able to, and some of those are it comes down to an affordability issue. Many of those are from the dietary services department, but also, believe it or not, from some of the other technical aspects for the hospital, occupational therapist for one. And then finally, alluding to the potential conversations around the process for the regional hospital conversation with the ministry. I think it would be in the board's really good for the board to hear directly from Island Health about where we're at in that process. So I don't know if a formal resolution is necessary from the board, but to invite Island Health to give an update on where we're at in terms of that process. And I'll look to staff. I don't know necessarily if a formal resolution or if I'm looking to the chair of the regional hospital board and I see she's writing down. So if there is a formal resolution, I can make that. If not, then I see the board chair has been writing notes. So
Heather, do we need a formal resolution for that request for a letter for Island Health to come and present to the board, or can staff just write a letter?
I think a formal resolution would be great. Thank you.
Okay, so Tom, you're making that motion and I'll second that motion.
Great.
All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carried. Alberni Clayoquot Health Network, Director Cote.
Thank you. I just want to add on to my previous report from the West Coast Native Healthcare that I forgot that there's invitations out for new directors. Their mission is SWIAS is uniquely responsibly managed, multi-level assisted and independent living care campus whose mission is to provide holistic, culturally competent care in a family-like environment with an emphasis on Aboriginal people. So that would be an addition to my earlier report. And for the Health Network, we also are doing recruitment for the Table of Partners at this time. So if you can think of anybody that would be interested in participating on that table, please direct them to the Alberni Clayoquot Health Network website or staff. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Cote. West Coast General Hospital, again, just a reminder about the grand opening celebration of our new and expanded emergency room department on Friday. So it's great to see that project finally come to fruition. Very exciting. Could I get a motion that the Regional Hospital Board of Directors receive reports A through G? Motion by Director Beckett, second by Director Steer. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carried. Any questions from the public, Heather?
Deb, I think Director Beckett had a comment as well.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were making the motion, Director Beckett. I'm sorry. It's hard to do this by Zoom when there's kids in the background crying and.
Are there any margaritas though?
Not yet.
I just wanted to ask Director Cote if there is currently a representative from Bamfield on the committee.
I believe there is, but it could be changing. I don't have that information right in front of me. I know that there's, it's a 2-year appointment. So I can't remember if the appointment from Bamfield area is up for renewal or not. I'm sorry.
Okay,
I can get that information to you though.
That would be fine. We can go offline with that. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Director Beckett. Okay, so motion to approve the Regional Hospital Board of Directors receive reports A through G. Director Beckett, can you still make that motion?
Happy to make that motion. Thank you.
Moved by Director Beckett, second by Director Sega. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carried. So any questions from the public, Heather?
So there's no emails received, and I'm just checking Zoom, and there's no questions in there as well. Thank you.
Can I get a motion to adjourn, please? Motion to adjourn by Director Sega.
Seconded by Beckett.
Seconded by Director Beckett. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carried.
Okay, welcome back, everyone. We'll reconvene. So the next item is an in-camera item. So what we normally do is I will read out and move the motion to go in camera, at which point we will break or we will stop doing the live broadcast and go from there. So the motion states this is a motion to close the meeting to the public as per the community charter under sections 91A, personal information about an identifiable individual who holds or is being considered for a position as an officer, employee, or agent of the regional district or another position appointed by the regional district. So I'll move that. Do we have a seconder? Thank you, Director Cote. Any comments? Seeing none. All those in favor? A motion carried. Thank you.